On this channel, I've been pretty open and transparent about my previous mental health struggles. I mentioned how I suffered from severe depression twice and struggled for most of my life with social anxiety, which oftentimes was excruciatingly crippling. All of this added up to negatively affect my view of myself and ended up ruining my self-esteem. It is one reason why I decided to go to therapy to figure out what the issue was. It wasn't easy at first because I was thinking that I don't need therapy since it's for quote-unquote crazy people and that I can help myself by thinking logically. Boy, how naive and arrogant I was at 21 having these thoughts. I'm so glad that my parents convinced me to see a psychiatrist and therapist in order to get over my issues. I'm so thankful for that. So how did depression affect my confidence then? It's easy. When you're depressed, you're more likely to suffer from negative thoughts and have a low view of self. In fact, it is one of the symptoms of depression, having a low self-esteem. I talked about signs of low self-esteem in previous videos, so if you want to know more about that, feel free to check them out on my channel page. So anyways, having a negative view of reality is a classic symptom of depression, and this influenced how I move around in the world. I had less things to look forward to, and I had little interest in doing things I used to be interested in. This included things like hobbies, hanging out with friends, exercising, and even basic things like going to work and school. Sometimes I would even be too tired to take a shower, but I still had to push myself to do that. I realized something as basic as showering did numbers on my mood, so I kept doing it. I also started to do more basic things like brush my teeth 3 times a day instead of twice a day. I eventually picked up where I left off with Spanish and continued to learn it by hand copying several stories from cover to cover. These books were on average 100 pages long, so I got a lot of practice, which set me up for success in achieving a near fluent ability now in Spanish. All of this had a domino effect on me, which allowed me to build more confidence as opposed to just being down in the dumps. When I was depressed, I thought I had no talent and that I was just dead weight. I felt no one would want to hire me for even a basic skills job because I am just that useless and horrible. Even if I managed to get a job, I reasoned, I would eventually get fired because I'm going to mess up somehow and go back to square one. So I figured, why even try? I'm destined to fail regardless of how much I try to improve myself. So to save myself the trouble, I need to give up now instead of wasting time. As with every habit, the more you do this, the easier it becomes to do it. The only problem is that I was engaging in a very bad and destructive habit that was holding me back and making me feel less and less self-assured. I hated every minute of it, but I felt stuck. It was almost as if I couldn't unstick myself from this mentality because I felt it was just who I am, and maybe I was right. But what I didn't realize is that this is not what is beneficial to me, and that my identity can be changed, at least in this regard. In other words, I started to realize that I wasn't born a failure, but this is something that was hard to understand when I was depressed. Thus, I carried my low self-esteem everywhere I went, and that was how I presented myself in the world, which influenced how others treated me. This was particularly true with how women were treating me when I was depressed. I was giving out a vibe or energy that I don't like myself, and this made women not like me back. In fact, even when there were women who liked me and were attracted to me, I still found a way to sabotage myself by thinking things like, well, if they really knew who I am, they would never want to be with me. I had other thoughts like this one, and all they did was make me look less and less confident to them. We all know that women love confident men, and when I was severely depressed, confidence was the last thing I had. I did not like myself in the least, and it made me less desirable to women. And I also desired women less, which became a vicious cycle that reinforced itself, resulting in more and more depression and lower confidence. All this to say, I am so glad I was able to beat my depression through medication and psychotherapy, which I advocate for, even though I encountered many people who had my old thoughts, which is that therapy and medication are for quote-unquote crazy people. The crazy thing is believing this stuff, and being anti-reality and anti-science didn't serve me. It was only when I became more aware of reality and also what God says about me that I began to regain my confidence. I encourage you, if you're listening to this, don't give up because you're depressed. Keep getting the help that you need and make the little changes which will add up to big changes. All of this will cascade into massive improvement in your life. Ignore the people who try to discourage you or tell you to quote-unquote toughen up. You will be glad you listened to my experience and do what is needed to help yourself instead of trying to be something that you're not. I'm certainly glad I took the necessary and healthy path, and I'm sure you will be too once you see the results. So that's it for this video. If you like this content, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and share to get notified about more videos like this one. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.